This movie has one of the most intense opening scenes of all time. Let's do it. 28 weeks later opens up introducing us to this guy Don and his wife Alice. It's in the midst of the rage outbreak and they're hiding in this little cottage on the outskirts of London with some other people. One day as they're all having dinner, this little boy starts banging on the door begging to be let in, and they let him in. Not long after, this horde of infected people show up and break into the cottage. What happens next is just utter chaos. They take out the survivors in the cottage one by one. Alice grabs the little boy and they try to hide in a bedroom, but then the infected break in and surround them. And Dawn looks at them as she's begging for him to help them, and he leaves her. Dawn manages to jump out a window and make a run for it, and when he turns back, he sees his wife banging on the window begging for help. He sees her get pulled away, and then just like the most intense chase scene ever ensues. This horde of infected people chases Dawn, and just more and more start showing up over the hills. And these bitches are fast as fuck. I would simply die. Eventually, he manages to make it to this boat where this other survivor in the cottage made it to, but he falls off and gets bitten, and Dawn escapes on his own. We then get some title cards explaining that after 28 weeks, things are starting to get under control because the infected are all dying of starvation. Britain is beginning to rebuild and they've brought in the US military. The army brings back some British people that have just been chilling in America until the outbreak calmed down, and two of these people include Tammy and Andy, who are Dawn's kids. When the outbreak happened, they were on like a school trip in America or something. So they are put into a safe zone where they are reunited with their father. When they ask about what happened to their mom, he lies. He tells them that he couldn't do anything to save her and he watched her get bit. We meet one of the soldiers that's guarding the safe zone, Sergeant Doyle. We also meet Scarlett, who's a US medical officer who's trying to find a cure for the virus. Now, Tammy and Andy are obviously upset by their mother's death, and they're like, we don't even have a picture of her. They decide that they are going to sneak out of the safe zone to go back to their house to see if they can find one. They make it there and they look around and they find more than a picture of Alice. They find Alice, but she's different. So Doyle was alerted that they left the safe zone, so he went to go find them and he finds Alice in the process. Alice is brought back and quarantined where she's examined. Scarlett discovers that she is indeed infected with the rage virus, but she's asymptomatic. So when Don finds this out, first of all, he's like, oh shit. Second of all, he sneaks into the quarantine area despite being told not to visit his wife. He apologizes to her and kisses her. And yeah, you guessed it, he is immediately infected with the rage virus through her saliva. And he proceeds to brutally kill her and then escape from the quarantine area and just go on a rampage. So yes, the apocalypse could have been avoided a second time, but nobody listens. So it's absolute chaos again because he starts biting people, now they start turning immediately. Scarlett, meanwhile, goes to find Tammy and Andy because she's like, if their mother was asymptomatic, there might be something in their blood that can help us cure this virus. Now, the officers are watching the chaos and it becomes very evident that they are not going to be able to contain this. So General Stone gives orders for a code red, aka kill everyone, infected or not. However, Sergeant Doyle is like, fuck that, I'm not killing people who are not infected. Now, Scarlett, Tammy, and Andy find a small group of people that avoided the gunfire and are hiding out. But Doyle finds them and tries to help get them out, but a sniper takes out two of them in the process. Then Andy creates a distraction so Doyle is able to kill the sniper. The group manages to escape the safe zone just as the Air Force bombs the whole thing. So everyone dies, infected and non-infected, with the exception of Don because he leaves and follows them. One of Doyle's fellow officers flies his helicopter and eventually finds Doyle and the group in this field. And he tries to get Doyle to come with him and abandon the others, but Doyle's like, absolutely fucking not. And then, of course, a group of infected show up. There's another guy in this group named Sam, and he tries to cling on to the helicopter as it's flying away for safety. But instead, the officer uses the helicopter to just mow down a bunch of infected, which causes Sam to get infected. That officer then tells Doyle to meet him at a stadium by himself, but Doyle again is like, nah, and he keeps the other three with him. Of course, getting there is not easy. At one point, there's nerve gas release that they narrowly escape. At one point, they get into a car and try to drive away as soldiers are approaching with flamethrowers, but it won't start. So Doyle gets out and pushes the car and basically sacrifices himself so the other three can escape. And he is burned to death by the flamethrowers as the others get away. Eventually, the three of them hide out in an underground station where it's pitch black, so they have to use night vision to navigate. But remember, they still have somebody following them. Sure enough, he attacks the group in the dark and he kills Scarlett. He also bites Andy. There's this very tearful moment where Tammy is forced to kill her own father. Tammy goes to her brother and sees in his eyes that he is infected, but like their mother, he's asymptomatic. The two of them go on and eventually they make it to the stadium where they find the soldier, and he hesitates at first, but ultimately is like, fuck it, I'll take you, and he flies them to France. It's not really a happy ending for them because we then cut to 28 days later. And we see that Flynn's helicopter is abandoned, and we hear a radio transmission of a French person begging for help. We see a group of infected people running in front of the Eiffel Tower, meaning the virus has spread, and the movie ends.